It is time to talk about the shrimp breeding experiment involving barometric pressure. It has been a hot minute, approximately a little bit over a year. Now, as you can see right here, I've got a buried female, and this is the first buried female I've had all year. It's a few months into this year. So, why are we seeing buried females right now? Well, let's take a look at the graph. It is 67.4 degrees Fahrenheit with a barometric pressure of 30.39, fluctuating from a lower barometric pressure, stabilizing to this barometric pressure. So it was lower before, it went up. Now, during the winter, the barometric pressure is pretty much all the same. It doesn't change a whole lot. But during the summer, the barometric pressure fluctuates with the weather. A lower to higher barometric pressure curve usually means that it's going to rain or something along those lines. And what I've noticed is when the barometric pressure is stable and does not fluctuate, the shrimp don't breed. But something about pressure that has to do with when it rains makes the shrimp breed. Now, I couldn't say as to what this is exactly or what's causing it, in other words. But hopefully I can get my hands on some means of controlling barometric pressure. Now, not a guarantee. You can get barometric pressure chambers that are pretty large that you really don't need to change a whole much in, but they're quite large, quite expensive. Well, large in the sense that externally they're going to be a pain in the butt to move. But sticking with what data we have available to us right now, let's see. In the blue tank, these shrimp are still too young to be of breeding age. They need to get a bit bigger, so I don't really have any breeding adult females in this tank to speak of. So the blue tank isn't really doing much, but I have noticed that the growth of these shrimp hasn't been as fast as I would have hoped. It's been several months now, and almost all of them are still looking pretty juvenile in size. Heading over to the green tank, this tank has kind of been on a standstill for the most part. Not a whole lot happened. When I first introduced these shrimp to this tank, I had a shrimp explosion. That was a while ago, and so far, I sold a bunch of them. And they're kind of just randomly strewn about, doing their own thing, hanging out on the sponge filters in particular, where the algae is. But in this tank over here, the orange tank, it's bustling. And, well, I don't see any buried females. Most of these shrimp are still juvenile size as well. So I think we're going to have to wait for some adult size shrimps before we start seeing anything. Again, the growth in this tank hasn't been as fast as I would have hoped. Now, this is partly to do with the temperature of the tank. I have the temperatures in these tanks set to a relatively moderate temperature. So the lower the temperature, the slower the metabolism, and thus the slower the growth rate of the shrimp. But if you make it go high, if you turn the heaters higher, all that will increase, but so the lifespan of the shrimp will decrease. So I'm hesitant to really want to do that because I think in a hectic breeding environment, slower is probably a little bit better than faster. At least for the shrimp, that is.